Hey everybody, it's Mitch and welcome to my next video. Today we are going to be doing a Dungeons & Dragons video. And today we are going to be doing a build, actually. So our very first build. Wow, camera glitch there. So this build is one that I personally love. It's one that I put a lot of thought into. It's actually really tricky to pull off and to pull off well. But way more so with a player character than with an NPC. NPCs it's much easier to do. So if you're the DM, I'll throw in some suggestions on how to do this even more efficiently. Ways that aren't really available for players because of the difference between CR and ECL. So yeah, let's get into it. So this build, basically, it's a big guy that hits really hard, but there's a lot more to it than just that. This build is designed to use offense as defense. That's kind of the crux of this build. So what this build uses is it uses a feat from the races of Stone called Knockback. Now, Knockback is a nice little one. It makes it so that whenever you make a power attack, you can initiate a bull rush without actually moving with the target. And it allows you to add what you power attacked into your bull rush. And if you're using a two-handed weapon, it'll allow you to add double what you power attacked for. So basically the same as what you're getting in terms of damage. So yeah, very, very nice. Now, the way to really utilize this build is when you have a large character, or potentially Colossal or Gargantuan. Colossal is nearly impossible to do with the player character and make it actually make this build viable. But Gargantuan can be done somewhat easily. There's not a lot of ways to do it, but there are ways to do it. There are a couple ways to do it fairly easily. Colossal, so much harder to do. Holy crap. But it's pretty doable for NPCs. But we'll get into that later. We'll stick with the player characters for now. So how do you go about doing this for a player character? Well, one of the best options is the Half-Ogre, because the Half-Ogre is large size. They get that +2 strength, which is great. They get a -2 to dex, which is a little bit of a problem, +2 to con. So good race to start with. You definitely want a nice big starting race in order if you want to get bigger later. Now the next trick on getting to this getting to Gargantuan, which is as far as we're going to get, is Psychic Warrior. They get a first level power called Expand, which can let them go up to 2 sizes bigger, which is really the only way to get that much bigger without using a ton of class levels in arcane casting. The Wujin gets something that'll get them all the way to Colossal, but you're going to need like 19 levels of Wujin to pull that off. Or I guess with Practice Caster you can do it in 15, but that's massive. That's completely distracts from the build. It doesn't really work for this because there's so much other stuff this build needs that you really can't afford to be dropping 15 levels into Wujin. That's a problem. So dropping, a level, I'd recommend 3 actually in Psychic Warrior. This way you can actually get your expansion right away. Well, not right away. You can get it as early as 7th level. So that works. You're just going to need Practice Manifester. If you only want to drop 1 level, you can also do Overchannel. That will work, although it won't work until you reach a higher level, which actually is probably around 7th now that I think about it. So that actually will work. Yeah, although 3 levels isn't bad. There's a couple of other decent powers that Psychic Warriors get. Like they can get use another one that will make it so that they also get a +3 to hit. Also, if they do 2-3 levels and Overchannel, then they can have expansion work for the full 3 round 3 minutes by augmenting it both ways. So that works. Yeah, not a bad option in all honesty, because basically you're going to be using rage most likely, and you can't use powers while rage. So basically what you can do though is you can use your powers to get bigger and give yourself all the buffs and then go into rage and still have the buffs. That works. Now there's some problems with that, of course. You would be vulnerable to certain spells, like calm emotions would mess up some stuff. Getting debuffed while in rage, you're not going to be able to come back out of it. But, you know, it's not the end of the world. So basically, I'd recommend drop in, 1 to 3 levels in Psychic Warrior. Maybe go for the 4th just to get second level powers if you see anything in that second level powers section that's interesting. I wouldn't go for a 5th though, because you don't want to lose another base attack bonus. You're already losing 1 from taking that first level of Psychic Warrior. If you go up to 5 levels, you're going to lose a 2nd. You don't want to do that. You need that base attack bonus as high as possible so that you can power attack for more and really launch those guys flying. Because the whole crux of this is you hit them hard, you send them flying, and you want to be able to have attacks of opportunity as well. So you want a decent dex score so that you can get I'm spacing the name of it, combat reflexes. So basically you're going to take advantage of the fact that as a big guy with a large reach and possibly a reach weapon like maybe a spike chain or something, not really the strongest of weapons, but it's a reach weapon that doesn't require reach, so it can be used reach or not reach without any action. So it works both. So you threaten massive area, and that's great. Because even Gargantuan, you're threatening 40 feet, which is huge. And the reason why you need that is you need to make it so that if someone wants to attack you in melee, they have to move through your threatened squares, which will give you an attack of opportunity, which you will take, and then you, while power attacking, in order to send them flying away from you. At which point they will no longer be in melee range and cannot make that attack that they were planning. That's kind of the whole point of this whole build, is when someone tries to hit you with melee, you launch them, and then they can't hit you in melee anymore because they're not close enough. Yeah, so, and then, maybe to augment it, you throw up some things like, so there's some easy defenses to get for arrows, there's a number of things that aren't too difficult to get. For that, Ring of Arrow Deflection, it's an okay one. Really, any sort of wind any sort of decent level wind will knock it away. There's a number of ways to stop arrows. They're not that hard to make yourself basically immune to arrows. Spells are a little bit trickier, but you can always, just get a ring of energy resist everything. That's a little expensive, but not too crazy expensive, especially if you go on the lower side and then just up that as you go. That'll protect you against the most spells, not all. It's pretty hard to defend against everything. There's definitely weaknesses to this build, but it defends against most of the common stuff, which is useful. Yeah, so other than so you'd want 1 or 3 levels of Psychic Warrior. You're going to want some levels of Barbarian. It's not required, but it does help. Maybe maybe even throw in anything to up your strength is really good. Possibly Bear Warrior, but that makes you go into bear form, which is problematic because then you can't wield a weapon that gives you the reach you need. So that's an issue, although if you can find a way around that, it's not so bad. It's a little tricky to do without assistance from other players, though. With assistance from other players, this gets way easier. You can just polymorph, although expansion works even better because then you can get even bigger and more reach and all that good fun stuff. So yeah. All right. So what else about this? So one reason why I recommend getting uh, Barbarian is you can get Rampaging Bull Rush. So this is a really feat intensive one. So you're going to want levels of fighter potentially to get those extra feats to handle so that you can actually do everything you want to do. Because you're going to need power attack. You're going to need bull rush. You're going to need um, knockback. Of course, you're also going to want the psionic feats. I'm already up to 5 feats right there. Oh, combat reflexes, that's 6. Like, there's a lot of feats that you need for this, and this is just the basic stuff. If you want rampaging bull rush, which will make it so that your opponent's prone after they get launched, that's pretty nice too. I think they might get a save of some kind, but it's fairly hard to make one. You can make that pretty hard on them. Um, you also want to try and make sure you launch them back as far as possible. So Rage will help with launching that. Another class that really helps with this is Frenzied Berserker. Um, the Supreme Power Attacks and Greater Power Attack. I said it in the backwards order, but if you get those, that will actually help a lot. Assuming that your DM is nice enough to rule on the side that these extended power attacks will actually apply to your knockback, so that you can add 3 and 4 times your power attack to your knockback, which it's reasonable to conclude that you're talking base attack. I mean, both of them apply the same bonuses. Like power attack, the power attack, it ups that in the exact same way that knockback does. So with the doubling and all that, like it's all works exactly the same. So it's reasonable to conclude that by making your power attack better, that would make so you could add more to your knockback. So you could potentially add 4 times what you power attack for to your attack. So that's pretty nice. Potentially 19, so that's like 76 that you're adding to your bull rush. That's another extra 75 feet that you're going to throw your opponent. Plus massive strength will help with that too, since you're going to add you get to add that. If you're using a two-handed weapon, yeah, two-handed weapon, I think I can't remember if it's strength or strength and a half. I think it's just strength for that. Although damage on that is strength and a half. So you're going to hit them crazy hard. They're taking all this damage. They're also getting thrown far, far away, and you're getting multiple attacks of opportunity. That one's a little tricky because Half-Ogre does have that -2 to Dex. Expansion's actually going to hurt your Dex by another 6. So that hurts. I think it's 6, maybe it was 4, but that hurts a lot. So you're really going to need a lot of heavy Dex damage. You need those gloves of dexterity. You're going to want to read that manual. You're going to want a high Dex score to begin with. You're going to want to put Dex as one of your best stats. Probably Strength and Dex is your 2 big ones. Probably third. Then maybe throw in Con. I believe Wisdom is the manifesting stat of the Psychic Warrior. So you're going to want that. Let me double check. It might be Charisma. I'll double check real fast, since I literally have the book right in front of me at the moment, because I have been researching this to really make sure I got this. Let's see. Yes, Wisdom. Okay, so I was right. All right, so yes, it's Wisdom. So you'll want that decent. That's also good for saves. Yeah, you will want, but you don't need it too crazy high. I mean, we're only talking first, maybe second level power, so really it only needs to be like a 11. That's really all you need in order to make this work. Yeah, so plus Basically, you can really launch people back like crazy far, and then they're just not able to fight. So other things that would be useful, potentially, Cleave is a great one. Great Cleave potentially too. If your DM allows it, maybe you can see about trying to work some sort of feat that will let them count sending somebody out of reach as to count for Cleave. That's a maybe. That's not actually in the books, but you might be able to talk your DM into it. It really depends. So yeah, it's this build. It's all about offense. It's using offense as a defense. Like all builds, there's always going to be a weakness of some kind. There's no such thing as the perfect build that does everything, but this one's pretty good, and it really does a good job of terrorizing the enemies. Now, for NPCs, the reason why I talk about that is something like a stone giant or a fire giant or things like that. The difference between their CR and their ECL is about 10. So using a stone giant actually works pretty well. You might even be able to get away with a storm giant to get all the way up to colossal. That's going to have a few more CRs, but it can definitely be done. At which point, you see this colossal storm giant that's freaking rampaging. That's going to be terrifying. It's going to be absolutely terrifying, especially seeing as their reach is a lot higher. That's going to be a solid 60-foot reach with like if they have a spiked club for a colossal size storm giant. That's nasty. 60 feet. Oh, that's like breath weapon. That's the range of most breath weapon cones. Like, that's a lot. That's some pretty serious stuff right there. Yeah. And the fact that you just threaten that big of an area would be absolutely insane. So there's definitely some options with that. Way easier to do with NPCs than PCs, but doable with PCs, especially if you only want to get up to Gargantuan. Because you can still do pretty good with Gargantuan. 40-foot reach is still pretty nice. Yeah, that's the build. That's one of my favorite builds. I love throwing that at my players. It's one that I've wanted to play as for a while. I've never actually played this build as a character, just as an NPC, but I'd love to, and it's just great. If you like this build, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys. So just leave a comment. I'd love to hear. If you like the video, give me a like. Definitely would appreciate that. I put a lot of work into this particular build. Also, if you if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing. That always helps. You get more awesome. That gives you access to more content. Ring the bell to get the notifications. That helps me too. But it also lets you know when I put out more, new videos, so you're not left out on that. And consider sharing this video if you know anybody who's interested. And as always, I'm Mitch. I'll be seeing you.